Hello there, welcome along to Language Open Learning. My name's John Ken and this is the LOL English Grammar course number 2. Today we're going to be talking about modal verbs in the past tense of modal verbs. Now this video lesson runs alongside our PowerPoint presentation which you can follow together. If you're not on our website, there is a link at the bottom here, and if you can click that, that'll take you through to our website. It's free to register, and if you do so, we have a number of English lessons on video and without video for you to test your English and indeed to improve your English. So today we're talking about modal verbs in the past. So let's look at when they're used. We use modal verbs in the past when we talk about ability. Okay, so if we're using it for ability, we talk about a past ability that we could, couldn't, and were able to do. Okay, so we talk about a past ability when we could, or couldn't, or was able to do. So for example, Jane could swim, or was able to swim when she was 10. Jane could swim, or was able to swim when she was 10. To talk about a specific past action, we only use was able to. Okay, so if we want to talk about something specific, we use was able to. For example, when David fell in the river, Jane was able to rescue him. So when David fell in the river, Jane was able to rescue him. Now, if we talk about modal verbs with certainty or uncertainty, we form it with the modal verb plus have plus the past participle. Okay? So if we're talking about certainty or uncertainty, the form is through modal, the modal verb plus have plus the past participle. It's a bit like the perfect tense. For example, you must have left your passport on the plane. You must have left your passport on the plane. Now this means I'm sure you did. I'm certain you did. Linda can't have written this. Linda can't have written this. Now this means I'm sure she didn't. I'm sure she didn't. Linda can't have written this. And if we say, for example, Emma may, might, or could have taken the bus. Emma may have taken the bus, Emma might have taken the bus, or Emma could have taken the bus. And this is uncertainty. Perhaps she did, perhaps she didn't. Now, if we talk about obligation, in the past, we use had to. Okay, we use had to, didn't have to, and didn't need to, or needn't have done, which is a bit rare these days. So if we talk about obligations in the past, we use have to, didn't have to, didn't need to, or needn't have done. And there is no past form of must, remember. There is no past form of must. So for example, when I was at school, we had to wear a uniform. When I was at school, we had to wear a uniform. Or when I was at school, we didn't have to wear a uniform. In strict grammar, this is what I'm saying earlier about didn't need to. In strict grammar, between didn't need to and needn't have done, there is a difference, but it's very little. For example, I didn't need to do any homework yesterday. I didn't need to do any homework yesterday. Now what this means is I had a choice. I didn't need to, I had a choice. I could have done, or I couldn't have done. But if we said I needn't have done my homework, I needn't have done my homework yesterday, this means I did it, but it wasn't necessary. I needn't have done means I did it, but it wasn't necessary. So there is a slight difference there. In everyday speech, we just used didn't need for both cases though, okay? And that's when you'll hear native speakers say it. It's very rare to say needn't have done. The last one we'll talk about is opinions and advice. Opinions and advice. If we're talking about opinions and advice, we use the form the modal verb plus have plus the past participle. The modal verb plus have plus the past participle. For example, I think you should have worked harder. I think you should have worked harder. Or you shouldn't have eaten so much. You shouldn't have eaten so much. So this is when we are given advice or given our opinion. We use ought to. You've probably heard of ought to. We use ought to have done and ought to not have done in the same way. Ought to have done, ought not to have done. But again, that's very rare. These forms, what we're talking about there, means that we are making a criticism. Okay? So, for example, in the examples I gave you, I think you should have worked harder. We're criticising the person, really, and we're saying, I think you are wrong. Okay? So if we say, I think you should have worked harder, or you shouldn't have eaten so much, it's a general criticism, and it means that you are wrong. Okay, that's the end of the lesson for the modal verbs in the past tense. I hope you've enjoyed it. It runs alongside the presentation. I hope you followed it. If you're quite happy, if you want to read go through the lesson again, that's good. If not, there's a green button below. If you click that, that'll take you through to the test. If you want to take the test, please do so. For those that pass the test, there's only about 4 or 5 questions. For those that pass the test, we give you a certificate of achievement for you to keep. So thanks very much for watching. This is John Ken saying goodbye and see you soon. Bye for now.